This is County Executive Warren Evans, and this is Inside Wayne County.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural broadcast of Inside Wayne County. I'm your host, Lloyd Jackson, and this show is designed to give you information and keep you informed about what's going on inside Wayne County government. It was back in November of last year when Wayne County voters elected a new county executive after losing faith in the previous administration. The new county executive took office January 1st. He is my first guest here on Inside Wayne County. He is Wayne County Executive Warren C. Evans. Mr. CEO, welcome to Inside Wayne County. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Before we talk about all the things that are going on in Wayne County, some big things going on in Wayne County right now, I want to kind of get the residents up to date on who you are, how you became the Wayne County Executive, how you got into the county politics.
Yeah, you know, I got into being a county employee way before I ever thought about politics. In fact, wasn't very enamored of politics as a kid anyway, but like I think a lot of people, 21 years old, I needed a job. I thought law enforcement would be an interesting place for me to go. So I went down to the city county building and filled out an application to be a deputy sheriff. Was hired in December of my 21st year.
Wow.
And that's how I got started. I worked my way up through the ranks. I can clearly say, you know, I'm the only guy that started out as a deputy sheriff and worked his way up and eventually in his life became sheriff. I'm pretty proud of that.
How much does that play a part in what you do now? The fact that you started as a jail deputy, came up through Wayne County employment, and now have the top position in the county?
Well, I mean, there's a certain pride in going from the bottom to the top, but the other part is, you know, I grew up working for a living, and while most people who work for the county work for a living, that's not always the case with the electeds in some places that have come in from other places, and they came in as bosses to the county anyway. I'm not saying I'm not saying they hadn't worked in a license. So, you know, in the times we're going right through now, it pulls on me rough because you know, we're doing a lot of things that are extracting concessions and tough times to get somewhere, and I absolutely know what that impact is on working people. Unfortunately, I also know that if you're broke, you probably don't have any alternatives, but it's not a comfortable feeling.
Being in the county executive's office before you became the county executive, working with Ed McNamara, and then the prosecutor's office, the police department in Detroit, and sheriff's department, how did that prepare you?
I think from a leadership perspective, it all prepared me, because I think what many people don't, you can design an activity, but you got to motivate people to get it done, and you got to check and make sure it's getting done. I can't tell you how many people I've seen in my life coming up who would understand what needs to be done, and so they'd write a memo and expect that it's going to translate into something being done. Just doesn't work that way. You got to be involved, you got to know what's going on, and you got to understand as best you can what your people actually do.
I know, I'm sure a lot of people don't know that you're a horse lover, and you love horses, and you probably could have rode off into the sunset like the Lone Ranger instead of coming back to this. What made you decide to come back?
I did for a while. Spent a lot of time training horses and competing with them, and you know, it's great fun. It's a pastime. But I always had a passion for Wayne County. I mean, that's where I started. That's where I spent most of my life, and quite frankly, I wasn't comfortable with the direction it was going or the leadership, and it just motivated me to say, look, you know, I owe more to myself and to the county than to just be one of the people on the outside complaining instead of on the inside trying to fix it.
Did you know how bad it was going to be, though?
Not exactly how bad it was going to be, but I had a pretty good idea, so it didn't blindside me. What it told me was we got to ramp up much faster and do the things necessary much quicker, or we're going to be in the same situation Detroit was post-bankruptcy and many other communities that have had financial distress. I don't want a bankruptcy. You know, we need to get this thing done, and I think we have the ability to do it. In fact, I know we have the ability to do it.
Let's talk about day one. Day one, coming in office, first thing, you know, your appointees, 5% reduction in pay.
Right. You know, I think you got to come in as a leader with a message that you're also a part of the problem and the solution. We got to fix it together. And so I think it was a gesture that made sense in terms of image being portrayed, but it also saved us $1 million. And you know, $1 million is nothing to sneeze about. I don't care, you know, how bad your deficit is. So I think it sent the right message, and I'm really proud of my appointees that came in that accepted that. I mean, many of these are very, very skilled people who in the marketplace could have done better. They chose to help lead us out of this mess, and for that I'm going to be eternally thankful.
And one of them is your deputy CEO, Rick Kaufman, who, as I'm sure you're happy with so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, here's a guy that
former
was a
chief
former
judge.
circuit court judge, former chief judge, and in private practice making tons of money compared to what the county pays, but has a passion for public service, and we've been friends for 30 years, chose to come on and help me get this done. And prime example.
One thing, too, that was different this time is that the county has finally put together a synopsis of the buildings that it owns. That had never happened. That had never happened.
It's
Talk about
amazing.
that.
It's amazing to me. Yeah, the county owns properties, as you know, in 43, you know, throughout the 43 communities. And when I took office, there was no one place I could go to figure out, okay, what do we actually own and what do we actually lease? And so one of the first things we did is get a compilation of all the properties owned, all the properties leased. Then when you go and look at it, you find out where you've been throwing money out the window all along with half-used buildings, buildings that should have been sold that have just been sitting there costing us money and upkeep, and frankly leases where we could have gotten a better deal somewhere else if we actually just sat down and looked at it and worked through it.
We are in a beautiful building, the Guardian building, and in that report that we received about the buildings, the consolidation, one of the things was like, maybe that wasn't a good idea for us to have the Guardian building?
Right. They clearly said we shouldn't have bought it for a couple reasons. I think the cost to buy and remodel was significant, but also it's not a user-friendly building for citizens. You know, right in the middle of a bustling downtown, and I'm glad downtown's bustling. But you know, how many people want to come and valet park to go in and take care of some mundane, regular county business? So it's a beautiful building, beautiful office space, but it doesn't do everything the county needs done. So if we had a building that was more user-friendly, would probably be a good thing.
Reorganization plan. You put together a reorganization plan. You had a lot of people working on that, staff working on that, which has consolidated some departments and really saved the county money as well. So you were steadily chipping away at that deficit.
We've been trying to, and we have been successful at it. And I think the interesting thing is sometimes when we consolidate, you know, everybody consolidates to save money. But I also think we've consolidated and provided better service at the same time. Can't get much better than that.
No.
It's got to be well thought out, and I think in terms of Children and Family Services and the Health Department, we've actually got a better handle now on how to serve families than we did with children taken care of out of this silo. You know, sick people out of this silo. Well, sick people also have to be family.
Yes.
And so putting that information together, I think, helps us provide a better service.
Something that was different too with this administration was the normal state of the county address. What you know, you will go in front of your electeds and you will give your state of the county address and you say goodnight and everybody goes home. You decided, let me go out to the people, let them know what's going on, and hear feedback from them.
Yeah, it took some work, and you were a key part of getting, you know, that stuff done. We went out to, you know, 4 different campuses of Wayne County Community College all over the county.
And we got to thank Dr. Ivory for that.
No,
because
absolutely. Dr. Ivory was big there. But the idea was, like you said, we don't have a lot of good news. And we also don't have a lot of money. And people don't understand when you have these big state of the county, state of the city addresses, you're spending money.
Absolutely.
You're spending money on technology, you're spending money on speech writers, you're spending money on, we don't have money to spend. I thought I should go out and talk specifically to the people and let them ask questions of me. I mean, state of the anything address doesn't take questions.
Right, no, it doesn't.
And I think people had questions and people had concerns, and to the best of our ability, we addressed them.
There has been savings, like I said, chipping away at that $52 million. One of the big savings was the negotiated settlement with the retirees that happened recently.
The McDonald case,
McDonald
which was a
case.
healthcare case, yes. And, you know, the nice thing about settlements is both sides agreed. Obviously, it saves us a significant amount of money, but obviously the retiree class felt it in their best interest to settle this too rather than prolong it. I think we all understood that through appeals it would be another 4 years. The county spent over $3 million to date litigating this case. I don't want to spend money on the lawyers. I want to spend money on the services for the people. And so to continually pay, you know, those kinds of litigation costs, in my mind, wasn't something we wanted to continue doing. And I'm very, very glad we got a settlement.
So we have 11 open contracts now. Your negotiations are continuing, but you're still trying to get to that $52 million nut.
Yeah, we're trying hard to do that. And it'll be real clear about something. I don't think anybody's position is necessarily bad. The unions have some real concerns about giving anything else back because they've been making concessions for years, and I get that. We're at the other end of the spectrum saying wherever the savings comes from, a portion of it's got to come from these collective bargaining units, and it's got to hit this number in order for us to get to 52 million. And so obviously we're far apart. You know, we're trying to get closer, but the reality is it's kind of hard to get close when you're this far apart. And so hopefully in the next month or two we will come to some agreement on terms. But if we don't, we're going to have to look at other options, and people just need to understand. I've been as blunt as I could be from day one.
And one of those options is the fact that you sent a letter to the state treasurer asking for a review of the county's finances and declaring a financial emergency.
Yeah, that's the first step. And I mean, I think anybody in the county who's turned on a radio or a television in the last 6 months know we're in a financial emergency. My expectation is the state will come to the same conclusion when they look at the books. And by the way, they have already sent a letter back saying they're going to expedite the review. And I think the review actually starting today. So I assume that they're going to find that there is that financial distress. And then the county commission is going to have to make a decision, if that's true, of what vehicle is used to get us out of this. And the only reason we call the state is because we don't have enough tools in our tool bag to get to the 52. If we could on our own, I'd ask the state to go home tomorrow. But the reality is we're not there. So
And what would you say to the people who are saying, well, is this just a precursor to Chapter 9, emergency manager?
I would say they're absolutely wrong. And I am 100% positive that we have the ability to get out of this with a consent agreement. No need for an emergency. Some people think it's a step. It's like, you know, you first ask for a consent agreement and say, everything's going to work out. And then later you come with your head in your hand saying, no, we need an emergency manager. If that was our plan, I would tell you that's our plan. That's absolutely not true. And we want to get out of this thing as soon as we can, because quite frankly, wrangling over it for 2 years doesn't do anybody any good. Getting it over with, tightening our process, and then hoping for more revenue in terms of taxes and showing the public that we can handle our own business may put us in a much better position to get additional revenue going forward.
Because by using a consent agreement, you still keep control, commission still keeps some control. If we go the other route,
Absolutely.
we lose control.
I mean, a consent agreement is the only process that allows your elected officials to continue to fix this problem. And quite frankly, the commission has been helpful. I mean, we've passed a number of things recently where the commission has been supportive. There are always going to be some nays, but who cares? I mean, that's fine. That's what people are supposed to do. We've been moving it forward. And so, you know, I want people to understand the commission is a part of this. This is not a dictatorship.
No.
It's a democracy. And by and large, we're working well together. There are always blips in the radar screen, but that's why you have a separation of powers. And I think we're doing well.
People drive by Gratiot every day and they still see that big jail up there. And I know a lot of times when you're out and people ask that question, you know, it's a question that you just probably don't want to hear or answer, but you can't help but see it every day, so people are going to have questions about it.
Yeah,
what can we do in the midst of what's going on now in Wayne County? People want to know what's going to happen with the jail.
And the honest answer is we don't know. Obviously, if someone came along to buy it, wanted to buy that space for a different use, and the dollars worked out, I'd sell it tomorrow. I'd sell it tomorrow. But that's not likely the way that it plays out. And if we're going to finish on that site, or we're going to eliminate that site and finish somewhere else, it's going to take additional money. And everybody has to understand, when you have junk bond credit rating, when you're already $52 million in the hole, you have nothing to borrow from, you have no credit to get a decent interest rate. We're just stuck until we get the budget balance. When this $52 million goes away and we have got a clean slate, then we're able to tackle the next big thing, which I hope the public can appreciate, is the jail. I mean, I'm as interested to get it done as anybody else. But you know.
So it will be. So it could be a new jail, or will we renovate the existing?
It could be either. Whichever is going to be the cheapest for the taxpayer, and provide enough jail beds for us to get it done. I mean, I don't have a dog in that fight, and even if I did, I'd be limiting our possibilities to get it done by tipping my hand to the public as to which way we're trying to go. I'm trying to maximize our benefit. When I say our benefit, the taxpayers of Wayne County. And so I'm open to all offers, and we're looking at every scenario, but we can't really execute on any of them until we get this structural deficit out of the way.
The Sheriff's Department, the Prosecutor's Office, both are, you've said in the past, woefully underfunded. How do we rectify that in the midst of what's going on now with the finances and the possible consent agreement?
Work hard in a number of areas to try to help. For example, office space. If I can absorb it, it may not come out of their budget. Helping to recruit the sheriff, and for people who listen to this, understand the sheriff has 80 vacancies right now for deputy sheriffs. We're trying to hire. They're having difficulty finding people who want to come. I don't know if that's a disconnect between, our recruiting and the public hearing it, which is an opportunity to say it here, or whether there's some other impediment to that. I mean, we're looking for people. We want people to come. If we can get more people in, his budget's going to go down automatically because his overtime reduces. Even if we hire people, we're not hiring them at time and a half.
Right.
We're hiring them at straight time. And so, not to get into the lengths and breadths of the math, we'd have a better run organization if we could just hire some more people. And I know everybody thinks the county's laying off. No, we're not really laying off. We just have a prosecutor and the sheriff who don't have enough of a budget.
And with the prosecutor's office, she's under budget right now. She's doing
she's doing fine on her budget, but she doesn't have enough prosecutors, and she's paying entry-level prosecutors such a low wage that she can't attract the talent that she needs. And boy, if anybody's worried, I worked in the prosecutor's office, and I know there are talented lawyers on the other side. We have to have talented lawyers on our side in order to help keep our streets safe.
You hear politicians a lot talk about transparency and say we're going to be transparent. That has been something that you've talked about on the campaign and since you've been in office that you have really stuck to throughout this whole time.
I think in order to get the credibility of the citizens, you have to do that. And frankly, I think that's the right way to handle government. It's interesting. I've had a couple people take shots at me saying, you're too transparent, meaning you're telling all the dirty secrets about how bad the county's finances are, and that's not helping the bond markets. Well, my answer to that is, I'm really sorry, but that's like being a little bit pregnant. It doesn't happen.
Right.
Either you tell the truth or you don't tell the truth.
Sometimes you just got to shake the rug, don't you?
Absolutely, and let the chips fall where they may, but at least everybody understands where we are, why we're there. Then as a collective, we can get out of it.
Warren Evans, thank you so much for being our first guest here on Inside Wayne County. We'll have you back to get periodic updates on what's going on in the county.
Lloyd, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned for upcoming shows where we will take you inside various Wayne County departments, introduce you to the people that run them, and the many services they provide that you may not be aware of. It's all with the goal of helping to keep you informed and up to date with everything going on inside Wayne County. I'm Lloyd Jackson. See you next time inside Wayne County.